And welcome to another F1 2011 race. This time it's the Brazilian Grand Prix, as you can see here, just pulling away as Kamui Kobayashi. People have asked for a mid-place team, so I thought I'd go for something like that. Still competitive, able to get up there maybe, but obviously it's very tough on your legendary eye. This is a pre-patch, so round up on the inside past Nick Heidfeld there, and then backing out a little bit around Michael Schumacher to get drive on the inside, and then using all of my curves here because I know that the start is the only opportunity I'm going to have to get near these guys. So up on the inside of Felipe, very late braking there. I wanted to prove a point. I'm taking that piece of road. A little bit aggressive, but managed to get through without touching anybody, and now I'm through into 6th place and attempting to close there. Is it on Lewis Hamilton ahead of me? Late on the brakes there, about as late as I can be at this stage. Obviously heavy car, lots of fuel. And already now I'm thinking to myself, right, it's all hectic around those first few corners. I've had a good result in getting up to 6th place. Now I'm going to need to be consistent. I cannot stay with those guys. I'm going to have to sort of let them go. But it's corners like this early on, it's quite tricky until your tyres and you've got the feel of the grip and everything else. You've really just got to say, you know what, I'm not going to push too hard until I've got a feel for where I am, and of course the fuel weight as well. So coming around the first lap then, not too bad, good result so far, and now I want to settle into a rhythm. Of course I'll take you around and give you my braking points as well as we go on. Now apologies about the mic sound, and I've been mentioning for ages, we did purchase a new mic cable, then a new mic, then a new camera, and we've had problems with absolutely everything at the moment. So it turns out the camera, as you can see here, doesn't record a video more than 29 minutes long, no matter how much memory you have. And of course the mics have the problems on this camera, and the internal mic on this particular camera, the Kodak ZI-8, is awful. So we will get these issues fixed. I am working on it. It just simply means buying another new camera. Bit of a disaster there. So continuing on then, how many laps have we got to go on this race? Goodness, I can't see at the moment because it's too bright for me. So 36 laps, we're on lap 2 of 36. Another epic race. Again, I ran this race twice. I got to lap 7 on the first race and realised I'd actually set it to 20% rather than 50. So I thought, oh blimey. I was running a great race as well at the time. I was really in the zone, but not a lot higher than this, but certainly putting in some good lap times. So a nice flow to this course. Drivers always talk about the anti-clockwise nature of it and the impact that has on their necks as well. You can imagine there is some serious undulation at the beginning and end, of course, of the lap. But again, it's very easy to make mistakes on some of these slow corners. I mean, here is a tricky corner there, you know. I go down into 4th, that's what I opt to do, and then up to 5th again to give myself the better drive. I go down to 1st here, but then I go up to 2nd, and I'm very progressive. And until I'm comfortable, I ignore the gears, where the gears are. I'm not going to shift up into 3rd until I'm comfortable that I've got the car lined up straight. You just want to keep a balance in your gears, really. Know what gears you have for each corner, what gives you the best drive, and go from there. It's the same with sort of engine braking as well. So you want to get into a flow, if you like, now, get into a rhythm on these long races. You know, once you learn each corner and how to do it, it's just a case of working with that. And then once the car and the tyres change, it's just the simple techniques of braking a bit earlier and progressively accelerating, and you have to get on the power a little bit later, otherwise you're going to spin out. So something like that. So at the moment my fuel is set to standard. I don't want to do anything other than that. You can see in the replay in the bottom corner there, I'm holding up quite a bit of the field, but I know those cars behind me are loads quicker. You know, the Mercedes and the Ferrari. This is pre-patch, by the way, so I haven't put the patch on yet. I was concerned that there have been issues with the patch and wanted to make sure I got at least one of these videos up for you guys first. There will be another 50% race with the same car on the same track, so I can actually look at them side by side, and besides giving you guys some feedback, you'll be able to see for yourself with driving, with consistency, with tyre wear and any other issues. I've heard issues about tyre wear, that there can be excessive tyre wear now since the patch, so that's something I will look at. But for now though, ignore the guys behind me. I know I've got track position. Unless they're going to do something stupid, I can always protect my inside line. And it's just now for me to be consistent, use all of the curves on the straight there. I use it up the hill, so I know that I've got quite a low downforce setup, much like I was running in Abu Dhabi, so I know it's really hard for them to overtake me on the straights, but I'm going to be slow on the twisty bits. But on the twisty bits there's only usually one racing line, so I know I've got a good enough pace in those sections to hold those guys off, at least till my tyres wear. Lap 5 then, still a long way to go. Keeping a nice flow at the moment. You can see I've lost touch of the front runners, but there's no point in pushing any harder. I would just simply rinse my tyres out. You just have to accept that the pace of the car is such that it cannot compete with the top guys. So who have we got in front of me? Hamilton in front, Schumacher behind. Schumacher closes on me a lot in this particular section. And again here, this is where I'm very slow in this final corner. This a very slow section. They all really come up behind me, but then I make sure I've got all my curves available to me. So if anyone's going to use DRS, this literally takes me to a point where I'm bouncing off the limiter. There we go. So round another lap there, holding them off. Of course, I know that if I see them getting too close, then I'll always look to cover the inside line. Been following a bit of F1 news this week, actually. Of course, we've had Pedro de la Rosa coming back for HRT next year. Interesting to see. He's been complaining a little bit about the lack of testing for new drivers. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't think there's enough test time for new drivers, and they do need something to sort that out. Some kind of test F1 car or something like that, some generic car even, whatever, something to enable them to at least get in, feel the G-forces, feel the handling, get used to it. It's, the jump to F1 is such a huge pressure that it would certainly help some of the drivers to settle in and find their feet. Some great talents there. There's also news, of course, Renault have dumped Bruno Senna, which is a great shame. I have to say, I think Bruno Senna did inject some life into the team, but despite that, they've not had any great results. I think there's been too much focus on Robert Kubica coming back and pressure. Robert Kubica's health is going to take a long time to heal, and I'll still be personally very surprised to see him back next year, let alone this year. They've been sort of pressuring for it all year, so he's going to be replaced by Roman Grosjean, who's done a good job as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the layout of the grid next year. Of course, that will be the Lotus team. Petrov remains, despite his outburst against the team earlier this week. And again, you have to say that there's a lot of money involved there. There's a lot of Russian funding. They're talking about a Russian track. Oh, you can see there, the pits have asked me to pit now, and I was ignoring the pit, basically. That's why I was saving all my curves rather than using it. And I'm like, whoa, the tyres have just degraded heavily. You can't quite see, unfortunately, the camera glare on the screen, but I could see that my tyres were wearing suddenly quite significantly. I had been pushing them hard in those first few laps, and the grip has gone now. So let's get back to the pits then. This is a corner I take very gingerly there, not mucking about. It can take you so easy. You see the cars backing up behind me, but I was very slow there. I came off the power too early here because the car was actually moving about quite a bit now. I should have been a bit quicker on my in section there. You can literally hammer it in there, but having not done a test pit stop before this race, this was, I think, the first pit stop I'd done of the day. I just didn't know the speed, especially with the tyre wear. So in there then, sorting out my fuel, back to lean now. I'm thinking to myself, well, I've been holding those guys up as long as I can. Inevitably now I would like to just save some fuel and then see where I end up later in the race. I know that I've got a few seconds on some of the cars behind me. They're going to have to pit. So coming out then on my second set of option tyres. Nobody else there feeding into. I went a lap later than a lot of the other guys to pit. Oh no, not on this section, sorry, this was actually the time I went on time. I have been leaving it a lap later because sometimes I find that the pits are really busy, and you might have seen that on one of my earlier videos that I pitted and then came out and was unlucky really that I pitted the same time as 5 other cars, and you just get stuck in the pits basically. And though they do let you out an awful lot quicker than they did in F1 2010, you can still find yourself stuck behind perhaps 2 or 3 cars that you wouldn't have been otherwise. And I think on an earlier 20% race I did in Brazil, I lost the race purely because of that. And then when I did the Suzuka race, I won it because I pit stopped a lap later. So you'll often see me using my options and really trying to take them around an extra lap if possible. Of course, now I'm using lean fuel. I'm also being a little bit more progressive for my acceleration and braking now, trying to get into a smoother rhythm. So I do want these tyres to last at least a lap longer. Having trouble getting used to the second set, getting them up to speed. It does take a bit of time, but then saying that, I had been using the grip quite hard on that first run. Trying to get into a flow again now. So the flow's coming again now. Starting to get a rhythm again. You know, I don't really know comparative. Obviously, I'm not running a bespoke setup here. This setup is again just one of the quick setups. I often don't have the time to set cars up and all the rest of it when I'm making these videos. It's been a very busy week actually. Hours spent trying to sort out race ignition as well, coverage, but I couldn't get race ignition working for whatever reason. So hours spent and no videos to show for it, which is a bit of a shame. Of course, I'm going to be at an F1 event this weekend, and I'm hoping to have a camera sorted out for that, which time we'll be able to bring you some of that next week as well. From a fan's point of view of F1 of the season. So across the start finishing line, and it's all got a bit lonely, isn't it, all of a sudden? Well, I brake just after the sign there, so then I turn in, I go down to second here, and then up into third for that section there. So gently on the power, full power around here, it's hanging there. And now I brake after a sign in just a moment, up to 7th, and then after, I think it's a sign here, there. So that's the braking, the second sign, then gently on the power around there into third, up to 6th here as well, 7th. And then down into 5th for the first section, and then 4th for the second section, then up into 5th again, there we go, and then down to 1st for me. That works for me, up into 2nd. Very gentle here, progressive. I'm not full power at all. I'm opening it up on the exit. Sometimes I get some wheel spin on the exit, but that works for me. Down to 1st again there, just hooking the car in. There's a lift just in the centre of that corner because there's a bump in it which will throw you off the track if you don't lift. It's okay when you've got traction control on, but it does have a nasty bump to it. There's a couple of strange bumps on the track you'll see in the race actually. One of them actually throws me off the track at one point. But right now though, I'm keeping nice consistent speed. I'm down in 13th place. It's not too bad. I mean, when you're driving a Sauber on this game, bearing in mind that at this time the cars were measured where they were earlier in the season. Back then Renault were a lot more competitive. You know, they were getting podiums early in the season. By the end of the season they've been down in 15th, 16th place and very inconsistent. So the Sauber really, I would say a Sauber is anything between 12th and 14th place is generally where you'd expect a Sauber to be, and that's fair enough. That's where we are right now. We're up into 10th. That's not too bad. I've lost a couple of places as expected. Michael to Massa. I would expect Massa to be a little bit quicker than that on this particular racetrack, simply because it's his home circuit and he'll be flying this weekend, flying the flag for Brazil. I was hoping actually to show you guys some footage of the Senna movie. I did a detailed review of the Senna movie earlier in the year with loads of awesome footage, a really great review analysing it, talking about my own passions of F1 over those periods. And unfortunately Universal, who gave us the footage to use, then denied us the footage because they forgot to confirm it internally, so we will never be able to show any of that to you guys, which is a bit of a shame. It should have been great this weekend. Round another lap then. Getting on the brakes when I can. I'm trying to go as quick as I can at this stage, but I believe I've just changed my fuel. I haven't been looking there. Up into standard again. You don't need to do many laps in lean, you know, you can do about 4 laps and then that's it, go standard. And if you think there's an opportunity where you can overtake somebody, then definitely max out the fuel. But I'm playing a very conservative strategy at the moment. I'm quite happy with my position on the track, and I know now that I've got the fuel to spare if I need to go max fuel later in the race to maintain some track position. So keeping it very measured on this slow section. Lots of rumours flying about this week though. There's been this rumour presented that Lewis Hamilton may even go to Ferrari in 2013. What do you guys think of that? I don't think it's unlikely that Lewis wants to leave McLaren. I don't think he's necessarily happy there. There's lots of reasons for that. But going to Ferrari just seems to be a strange move to me. You know, Fernando Alonso and Fernando Alonso, should I say, is, you know, they're hardly bosom buddies, and would that, you know, does Lewis feel he could work better with Fernando than Jenson? You know, certainly this year Jenson and Lewis don't seem to have got on as well as perhaps they should have. They've grown apart, but will changing teams sort everything out for Lewis? Will that reinvigorate him? We just don't know. There may be no truth in the story at all. It could just be a rumour. But certainly there's no smoke without fire in Formula One. It's the same with the Red Bull rumours earlier in the year that Lewis was definitely looking around. Certainly interesting to see now that Jenson has secured his deal with McLaren. And of course Fernando is golden boy at Ferrari, and Sebastian will be at Red Bull for a very, very long time. Many years to come. But despite winning so many races, you can't fault Sebastian's commitment to the season, and his driving skill this season has been fantastic. He's been relentless, and despite having a quick car, certainly there's been a lot of room for error, and he's worked his way around it in many times as well. He's used the car to its maximum and used an opportunity he's had presented to him. So well done to him this year. I think next year could be a slightly different season. I think McLaren and Ferrari will be an awful lot closer to him and to Red Bull, but certainly I still feel that Red Bull's position where they are right now in the championship is going to be maintained next year. They've got Adrian Newey, and Adrian Newey is a legend in Formula One terms, and the cars he's designed over the years, absolutely fantastic. What a guy, what a hero. Adrian Newey is the man, it has to be said. Coming up behind a back runner here, always very tricky, these guys. You know, I was trying to get up on the inside and went onto the marbles a bit there. I didn't really know where he was going and wanted to get past him. I was in a zone here. Get out of the way. Rubbish. Where are the blue flags? You can see there, Force India coming right up behind me. All the time I lost there. Who's that? De Resta behind me. Paul De Resta. Not the most exciting chap, is he, on camera? Nice guy, I'm sure, but we need a bit more personality. A bit more personality. His publicists and PR people need to sort it out. Need a bit more, you know, individual passion. That's one thing I find that's lacking with Force India as a whole, as a team, is they don't have any real personality or passion. They're a very boring team to follow. They do need someone there that's going to, you know, invigorate it as a team and, I don't know, bring it more alive. Of course, there is new partners in it now. I'm sure they'll be injecting more cash and ideas and everything else. But as a showmanship team, they're certainly not that at the moment. Sauber, though, a funny old team, aren't they? I mean, they've always been around a long time, competing. There have been times when you've wondered why Peter Sauber continues. You know, the stress of running an F1 team, but he loves F1, obviously. But the team's never quite made it, has it? I mean, how many years do you do F1 knocking about in 12th and 14th and 15th, 16th place before you say, that's not where I want to be, I want to be a top team? And at the moment, though there was showed signs of it many years ago, it's never really materialised in quite the way I'm sure he'd foreseen, especially given the huge investment behind running the team and also the huge potential the team has shown in testing. I mean, the team has improved as the season's gone on, but it would be nice to see them take a big step forward. And, you know, Perez has had a good season as well. Kamui's not had the most exciting season, has he? I mean, we know he's an exciting driver, we know he can do well in a great car, but I do feel that Kamui really does need a better car under him. I would like to see him in a better car as well. Now, Kamui is someone who could be in a better car, you know. So I'm waving my hands about there, something I wasn't happy about. Continuing on though, where are we? Half race distance practically. Still trying to keep myself up there. Where are we up to now? Up to 8th place is that. So 8th place. I've lost 2 places to Michael and to Felipe Massa. Not too bad at this stage. I was reasonably pleased with that. I think I'm doing as well as the car will enable me to do, and keeping nice and consistent. Pitting now, so I've already noticed the tyre degradation. Let's see if I pit this time, or if I could decide to continue on. I think I continue on this lap because I have been taking better care of them. You never know. No, I'll save that for later. For now then, in the pits. So I have a little drink beside me there, my own little drinks bottle, can. Actually, you know, you need a beer when you're doing this, it has to be said. It's quite a stressful business. So, coming to the end of the pits then, steering your way out. And this was something I mentioned before actually, my mistake, I completely forgot about the automatic pit stop. It's turned on, I've turned that off obviously now. Much better, gives me a nice flow for when I get back on the track. Feeding in there. Not too quick feeding in, obviously you don't want to just ram straight into somebody. Braking earlier, when you come out the pits, always do remember to brake a little bit earlier.
Looks like Maldonado will be pitting within the next 3 laps.
Just so you've got your tyres up to temperature, everything's working, you've got a feel for it. Oh, another back runner now, Yano Trulli in my way. The problem is sometimes for me is you'll see me almost having to avoid them because the closing speed sometimes is so high when they don't get out of the way that you can almost crash into him sometimes. I'm getting a little bit frustrated now. I'm thinking he's really slowed me down, and passed him there. Had to go on the inside, had to brake a bit earlier and a bit harder, but we're through. Let's use all that KERS now. KERS, there we go. And use it to pull away down the straight. Really maxing out that top speed. I find it really works in 7th gear here. It's obviously a much slower lap with the pit stop. And a couple of cars coming out the pits there. There's a gag of the cars in front of me. They don't know who's who, what they are. I'm thinking, oh dear, it sent me a little bit wide there, just seeing all 3 of them and thinking, right, how am I going to get past this bunch? Jostling with each other here, this isn't too good. I've already come off the power, I'm slowing right down. Forgot to change gear. And then up on the inside, that's it. Lovely. Through there, nice. And that's given me a little bit of breathing room as well, of anyone coming up from behind. Though I've not seen AI cars overtaking back runners yet, seeing how quick they cut through them. Do they cut through them quicker than I do? Sometimes it feels like they do. Feels like the AI on this particular circuit for me were very tough anyway. They're certainly pushing very quickly. I mean, this isn't a circuit I'm necessarily bad at. But they are very quick. They are like optimum laps. Sometimes I just don't feel like their tyres are wearing as mine are wearing, because I seem to lose lap time and they don't. But either way, Vettel is leading there, of course, as expected. You can expect that. Oh, you can see there the car's sliding a bit. Having to back out the power just to get traction. I do like some of the replay cams, but it's something I will talk to developers about at some point. Putting in their proper TV cams, why can't we have them? I would like proper TV cams. It would be nice just to have that option sometime, rather than some of the, you know, crazy camera angles we get. So gently in there. You know, like you say, every set of tyres, you've got to get back into a rhythm again, especially these long runs. Interesting circuit though, Brazil. Used to be earlier in the season, and it's a mix. I wouldn't say it always produces great races. Sometimes it's produced some of the most boring races you've ever seen in your life, and this is kind of a good example to a point. I've not seen anyone for ages. I've gone down to 13th place again, so you know, I've gone from 6th to 8th to 13th, and I've not seen anyone or been overtaken by anyone yet. So it is pretty quiet for me at this stage of the race, but everybody's pitting, everybody's all over the place, so oh, back end coming out there again. The tyres just don't seem to be working as well. But again, that shows that I'm pushing quite hard to try and keep myself in contention for the points. Keeping it all together nicely. be up to now position 13th place on lap 20. So 20 laps in then, and reasonably pleased with the performance so far. Certainly I feel that this has been the maximum I could have achieved so far, without perhaps a default setup, and even then I think though I'd be a few seconds down the road, I doubt it would have made a huge difference to my overall performance or place. 13th place, still waiting for some of the guys in front to pit, no doubt they will soon.
Maldonado's just entered the pit lane. Maldonado's in the pit.
So that takes me up to 12th place now. Using a little bit of curves there, just to make sure that if he was exiting the pits at any time when I was down there, I just wanted to get down there as quickly as possible
The car ahead is running on the
and maintain track position.
We have an advantage here.
So I'm feeling good here now. I'm thinking I'm pushing a little bit harder now. You can see a little bit of curves earlier in the lap. I really wanted to inject a very quick lap here, keep it together, hammer it around that section, get down through the gears, and see if I can really make some time up now on these front runners. Get myself, maintain that 8th position if possible. That would be ideal. All runners still running at this stage. And coming up round another lap. So keeping that all together. So it's been a fun F1 season. I know a lot of you have been asking for tuning videos and stuff like that. It's something I'm going to work on during the season break, the F1 season break, so tuning videos and guides and stuff like that, specific guides to each track. I'll be talking to some other gamers as well, getting their opinions on how they race it. Ooh, tricky bump there as well for the car. That's one of those strange bumps I seem to come across in the game that just seem to throw the car off for whatever reason. As well as lots of other coverage as well. You know, we're going to have a bit more Forza Motorsport 4, a bit more use of the T500 wheel as well on this game, amongst others. And hopefully we will get this race injection working as well as more cars news as well. So lots to come on the channel in the next few weeks. And a mistake there from me. A mistake. What happened there? I went down into neutral by accident for a second. Just did a double tap on the gear shift, and disaster for me, disaster. So I've got marbles on my tyres, I've gone in the corner, no grip, and that great pace I've been showing through the whole race, pulling out a big gap on the guys behind me, and suddenly now I've got no grip in the car, struggling something terrible. Luckily I still have all my curves on this lap, so I hadn't used any early on, trying to max out the curves now. And that's been quite deflating actually. I thought I was doing a really good race for you guys there, you know, putting in some good pace and selecting my tyres for the next stop. Making sure I'm ready for the stop now. That won't have done my tyres any good at all. Now just thinking, right, I need to get back into a rhythm again. It's kind of destabilised actually. I was in such a rhythm for 20 or so laps there that I'd completely forgot where I was. You know, I was just doing my click click and down and up and all the rest of it. And I'll do the same thing again here. Whoa, I've done the same thing again. What am I doing? I've completely lost my rhythm at this stage. It just shows sometimes when you're doing a game like this and you're doing, you know, loads and loads of laps. And as I say, on the Abu Dhabi track, yeah, the marbles there against enemy wide. The Abu Dhabi track actually did 105 laps to record that one race. I know some of you have asked for full race distance races. The only thing preventing that at the moment is editing time. This particular video has taken, or will have taken, 15 to 16 hours to edit, 4.5 hours to upload, and that's without the driving. So you get an idea of the processing. It just simply takes ages to process films that are this long in high definition. So it's something I hope to do in the future, but certainly right now I don't have the PC equipment to be able to process an HD film within a reasonable time frame, it has to be said. Another question I'm asked quite often is, why do I use T-Cam when I'm running these videos? It's simple really. One is, you get a nice view of the car on the road, on the track, and where I'm placing the car. That's one. The other thing is the steering lag on screen doesn't bother me here at all, but it certainly bothers me when I'm in car. You've got these big hands in your way that are lagging all over the place. It doesn't work for me. So, and not only that, you can't see my car, like I was saying, you can't see my car placement very well. So even though I'm running identical lines, you just can't see it as well from in car. So this gives a nice TV cam viewpoint, nice view of the road, nice view of where I'm lining my car up on the curbs and everything else, and I can still play the game as normal. So tyres wearing down, I've decided to do an extra lap. Again, really rinse these tyres because I'm thinking, you know what, I've damaged my race now, I've really got to put in the best I can. Grip is going in massively after my spin and everything else. And I really have lost my rhythm now, because not only am I out of rhythm, you know, it's this, every time I come to this section I'm thinking, right, I've completely lost down to 5th, down to 4th there, it's going to up into 5th, and let's see if it happens again. Not too bad, no, we sorted it out this time. So after a couple of laps there where I lost concentration, we're back now and getting to a rhythm again, and that will sort me out for the rest of the race. So down into 10th, I've lost loads of time now. I would have still been in 8th place at this point. My strategy would have been working out for me, but unfortunately I've lost, you know, best part of 8-9 seconds on the guys behind me, and so they've managed to close up on me on their fresher tyres, which is a bit of a bummer. You can see Prix there right behind me. No, I've decided to stay out again and ignore the pits. So again, this is where I was saying earlier about sometimes I ignore the pits because either one, I think the pits are going to be busy, or two, I want to stay on the option tyre because I know that slow options are sometimes quicker than the prime tyre, hard tyre, which is sometimes very, very slow indeed and just has no speed at all in it. So not only that, but I'm also aware that I have track position as well. These guys aren't going to get past me, and when I pit, obviously I'm going to lose track position on these guys, which gives them the opportunity to pull away. They're on much fresher tyres than I am, had later pit stops. But of course my strategy has now been thrown out by that spin a moment ago. So lap 26 then, 10 laps to go. Certainly been a long race, felt like a long race, isn't it, this one? So going round to the pits now, almost certainly.
You need to pit in this lap.
Very ginger on the power there. You can see how they all close up on me in that corner. I just find I just don't have the grip on that corner. So I'm going quite quick into the pits now. So obviously earlier on I learned I could do it pretty much flat. And that's it. Just a little lift if I'm uncertain, because you have that divider wall there, and that's not somewhere where I'd like to end up. Very brave of the drivers to go past it actually. So hell of a pit entry, not the most practical. So exit the pits, didn't get held up then thankfully, and on my way out.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
Progressive here, and again very progressive on the acceleration. I think I've actually floored it around here.
You have no more scheduled
So no more pit stops.
So look after your tyres.
In a way, I can imagine that's almost a relief, really, for a driver. They know everybody, you know, the pits know they've done their job. They're relieved to have got it out of the way. The driver knows, well, that's it now. It's just down to me and to hope for the best. And that's kind of what you're doing, really. You're just saying, right, well, I'm just going to put in the best laps I can on a rubbish tyre, and really try and minimise the damage now from earlier on. So down in 17th place, not where I expected to be when I was in 6th place earlier. But obviously we had that spin, and there are a lot of cars ahead of me that are still going to pit. It's been unfortunate though that despite being in a mid-pack car, that I've seen so little action around me despite changing position so many times. So they're telling me a car is behind me, so a few seconds. But the field spread, you can see, is very wide on this circuit. A lot of cars not within 2 or 3 seconds of each other. Braking down into the hill, so it's getting used to these hard tyres now and finding out how much I can wring some speed out of them. At the same time, I'm also aware of the fact they've got to last me another 8 laps, so these tyres do have to last a long time. despite the criticism though Codemasters have had over the bugs in the franchise, I think they've done a good job so far. It's been for me the best F1 game in, well, years really. It's been a long time since we've seen an F1 game so good, and I think they've done a really good job with it. It's all down to investment really, and developers honing it so that there aren't so many bugs in future versions. It's something which the first game people let them off. This game people were very unhappy about it, and I think if it ever happened again, and you kind of feel it might happen again, that it's certainly going to start having people just simply not buying the game anymore, feeling that they're being let down by the developer. So certainly it's important for Codemasters to invest in it if they're going to continue to develop it. And I've no doubt they will invest in it, but obviously that's always dependent on the sales and how much FOM are actually charging for the license. Oh, in fact, you know, FOM are so strict. I mean, even if I visit a Grand Prix, I can't film any footage and show you guys. Goodness, the car right in front of me, moving across me. Where is he going? I had absolutely nowhere to go then. That would have been a disaster. He should have stayed in the inside and off the racing line. Would have been practical. But he decided to go off the racing line on the inside, then move onto the racing line, in which case I would have had a broken nose. But instead, no, it was a very light touch. I mean, I was on the brakes at the time trying to avoid him. So, no disaster there for me. Could have been messy if I'd just taken my normal racing line. So again, so slow around some of these corners. But what I do know is that I know where my limit of grip is, and I know my limit of speed, and I say I'm not going to exceed that. You know, when you're racing, you're in a very different mode to when you're qualifying or doing a time trial practice or something like that. You've got to be consistent because, you know, yeah, sure, you might be able to squeeze an extra tenth out in one corner, but then lose it on the next. Whereas if you put in just a consistent lap, you can gradually tie it all together. I mean, there are always going to be mistakes in it, but practice makes perfect. I mean, if I sat here doing Brazil for another week or two, I'd be tip-top. At the same time now, right now, I'm being consistent, and as we see Fernando Alonso putting in the fastest lap there for Ferrari. Anything's possible this weekend, you never know. I still like to be consistent. I seem to have been doing slow moving cars all day on this race. Like I say, the field spread is so high. Again, braking there, because they brake so early into the corner, that's, despite me braking so much later, you're on top of them in the corner. So Kartikeyan there in the HRT. Again, I got this line earlier when I passed Trulli, and I took the inside line again. I thought, no, I'll take that. So I'm aware the car behind catching me, but obviously the car behind is also on options as well. So DRS. So I use my DRS there. It's one of the first times I've had a chance to use DRS in this race, amazingly. I've not had much luck with the back runners in meeting them in the right place. Yutzi is that as well, going around the outside of him, not quite where I want to be, but worked out okay. I know there's a lot of marbles on the outside of that particular corner. Always remember, you know, don't get on the power. You're very progressive when you're getting on the power. You don't just put your foot down, you're gently accelerating more and more and more as the corner opens up for you. So, the latter half of the race now. So the plan really is for me is to run this race again for you guys with the patch on and seeing how it feels with that. And then I have a plan to do another version of it as well, but we'll wait and see on that one. So lap 31 of 36. Coming to the end of another one of my epic F1 commentary videos. I hope you've been enjoying these so far. Do let me know if there's anything you'd like me to discuss in the next one. And up behind Trulli here again. I'm thinking better off going around the outside there simply because, whoa, Ambrosio there moving on the inside despite I'm there, just seemingly not seeing me. So it's dispatching those guys, trying to keep up the pace. They do actually, the pit does have a go at you about pace, often when you're passing back runners all the time. rather than recognising that the actual back runners on the course. I think that's something for next time actually, because it's a little bit frustrating when obviously you're stuck behind a back runner. Again though, I'm looking at where I am and thinking, well, if I was on the option tyre right now I would be so much quicker, but I always like to leave the primes as late as I can, because I know that the prime tyre, it's got less grip, but it's easier to drive with a lighter car than driving it with a heavy car, because with a heavy car it's going to be very sloppy, very slow indeed. So I see it kind of minimising time loss. So the lap times that I'm putting in now are not hugely different to the lap times I was putting in under the options before with a heavier fuel load. Still relatively quiet for me. There's a car just up the road there. Where am I? 12th place now. So effectively the spin cost me 10th place down to 12th, which effectively lost me an all-important championship point. And so now all I can do really is put in laps as good as I can with whatever the tyres will give me, and hope for the best that somebody spins off or has an accident or whatever, you know, that there's some kind of incident on that tricky hill. Like I say, not as flat as it would first appear. Again up the hill, getting to 7th and using curves. There we go. Whoa! And a bump there, a bump that just, you know, came out of nowhere. What was that all about? You know, I don't even know what knocked me off, to be honest. I'm turning in as usual and I hit one of these strange bumps that I've seen during the race. Very unusual. So away from that though, just trying to ignore that, stay in my rhythm. Past another back runner. Seems like I've got a couple of other guys closing up on the back of me. I'm not pushing too hard now. I'm working with what I've got, and I'm just trying to be consistent now for the rest of the race. So even though that cost me, to be in 12th place in Sauber at the moment isn't necessarily disappointing for me. You know, when you think you've got the 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes, you know, 9th is always the best, and on this particular version of the game we've got the Renaults in there as well. So, you know, really my competition has been with the Williams and the Force India. Force India have been obviously reasonably strong this season, and if we're overtaking them then so far so good. So I've got Rosberg just ahead of me. So Sergio's putting in some good laps. Obviously he's half a second quicker, but that's understandable because he's now on the softer tyre, whereas I'm not. I'm just trying to keep a nice focus. Not long to go now to the end of the race. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed these race commentaries. You know, like I say, I'll talk about all F1 stuff and stuff like that. There's not a lot going on at the moment now. I think it's all going to be discussed at the weekend. You know, for the cars, the drivers, everything's going to be happening next season. It'll be interesting to see the development, how it tightens the teams up. I think Mercedes will be stronger next year. I think Ross Brawn will do a good job there. Same McLaren and Ferrari will no doubt be stronger as well. It would be nice to see some of these back teams close up. You know, how will the Virgin relationship, or what we call Virgin of course, but you know, their relationship with McLaren, and you know, how will the Caterham team develop as well? It'll be interesting to see. It's a shame about the Austin, Texas track. It's not seemingly not happening now. I'd like to have seen that happen myself. I think it would have been great for the sport. But Fernando Alonso crosses the finishing line, almost a lap behind me, or almost lapping me, but not quite. So it proves his pace in the race. Very quick for the front runners. And so now, actually, I find this the hardest. You know, when the race has ended and you're still trying to focus on your race and put in a good lap. But like you say, you should do this. You know, you never know. You never know whether someone may still fall out. breakdown, run out of fuel, anything like that. So we come around these final few corners now, as I've called it before. We come around here and then up to the Glock bend, and that's it, viewers, for another Grand Prix F1 2011 Brazilian Grand Prix. Hopefully another one to come, but that's it from me now, viewers, and more soon.